It's been quite some time since last we met. Much has transpired. Sunrises, sunsets, moments of beauty, moments of tragedy. But whatever journey you have found yourself taking, whatever paths you have traveled since we last convened, we have once again found ourselves here, together at last. And before we go too far, before we delve too deep, I would like to begin this sermon with a question. And that question is...
Actually, hold on 1 second. I want to make sure we're past the 1 minute mark here. I don't want to upset the big red button. Okay, yeah. Nope, we're good. We're good. All right. So the question I would like to ask is... what the fuck? Hey guys, so as you may have noticed by the title of this video, this is not the second act of the series. I want to reassure you that I am hard at work on that. By the time I've released this, the script is done, recording has already started, editing will be well underway before too long, but in the last video I did say that if enough people offered their opinions and interpretations and analyses, I would make a follow-up video as a sort of intermission between the acts. Now, when I said this, you must understand, I thought that this first video was gonna get like 200, maybe 300 views total, like maximum. My big ambitious goal for that video was to reach 100 subscribers. And as you can see, we reached our goal. So welcome, we reached 100 subscribers. Welcome to our 100 subscribers special. Sorry, correction, our 500 subscribers. 1,000 2,000? You're telling me that there are 2,000 fucking people that are here to watch whatever the fuck this is? The point that I'm making with this is when I made this video, I thought I was gonna have like 10 to 15 comments to respond to. This was going to be a 20-minute video, like at a maximum. Again, as I'm writing the script, I don't know where it's at now, but like last I remember checking before I had to like shut down for a little bit, we were over like 400 comments. It's a lot. When I asked you guys to comment, you did not disappoint. You showed up in full force. In the comment section, in the Discord, in the Patreon, just everywhere. You just found every little nook and cranny to come and give me more theories in. And do not misunderstand me. I am stoked. I was just not expecting it. So rather than addressing every single comment individually, because if I did that, this would be a 6-hour-long video, and I know you guys liked the 2-hour-long video before, but like, I've gotta give myself a limit somewhere. So instead, I will be grouping up similar comments and interpretations into subcategories, using 1 or 2 of the most detailed comments of each topic as representatives, though I will do my best to show the rest on screen as well. Meaning, if your comment didn't make it into this video, it either... Yes? Do you wanna... Yep, yep. Yep, yep. Good boy. Good boy. We have a visitor. Meaning if your comment didn't make it into this video, either A, it already falls under one of these pre-existing categories that I've labeled here, B, it was posted after I already started working on the script, or I just missed it while I was taking screenshots, which if that's the case, I'm sorry. Or C, it was mostly incomprehensible. Or I guess I suppose there's also option D, meaning your comment was accurately pointing out the fact that I left out 4 songs in my last video, 3 of which are included in the deluxe edition of Sundowning and 1 of which exists as a single by itself. The reason I did not cover these is because 3 of the 4 songs are covers of other pre-existing songs, and the 4th one, Shelter, I'm gonna be just so honest, I completely forgot. I'm sorry, my bad. Are you content? Are you happy as a clam here? This is such a weird position for you to be in. It's like you're sitting like a people. But as a special addendum to this video, I'm going to be going over each of the 4 songs in a similar style to the last video. However, before we get into any of that, I am going to go ahead and put a disclaimer out here. I know that I said in the first video that I was specifically going to be going over the comments that changed my mind. And don't worry, I will still be highlighting those out and portioning them out and separating them from the rest of the comments. But I'm also just going to be highlighting all of the different theories that I got here, even the ones that I completely disagree with, because I find them interesting regardless. Also, since this is our first video being fully monetized, which fucking thank you, by the way, what the fuck? I've been making YouTube channels and experimenting with creating content since I was like 12 years old. This is now my 4th YouTube channel, and this is the first time that I've ever reached this level. So anyways, because of the new monetization, I will not be using any copyrighted music in this intermission video, including my analysis of the covers and of Shelter. But I am still going to encourage you to go listen to the music regardless, and if you would like that little extra flavor of hearing the music behind the analysis as it plays, or if you're just looking for fun ways to support, you can now find the full, uncensored, uncut video over on my brand new Patreon. Wow. The YouTube version of this video isn't going to be missing any content. It's just going to have some copyright-friendly background music behind it. And don't worry, this is not going to apply to the second act video. My analysis of This Place Will Become Your Tomb will have full music 100% of the way through, just like the Sundowning video did. This copyright bit is only going to apply to these intermission videos in between. Okay, that's enough preamble. Let's talk about the comments. I'm gonna try and do this in order as much as possible because that's just the way that it makes sense in my brain. So let's start with... So for Thread the Needle, first of all, I got a couple of comments pointing out some alternate interpretations of the something to erase line. Brenton Davis here says that he sees this line as Sleep erasing Vessel, erasing his identity, remaking him in her own image. Meaning that the term thread the needle in this case would more evoke the idea of her stitching him together, sewing together the fabric and making him something new, making him a vessel. I love this idea, especially because, as you'll notice, is a common trend in a lot of these comments and additions. This brought up a theme that I felt like was in the back of my head waiting for an outlet, and I just didn't know where to mention it. The entirety of this first album makes these subtle references to Vessel being a different person than he used to be. And while I touched on it pretty heavily in The Way That You Were, there are plenty of other examples where it's mentioned or hinted at. In the song, The Night Does Not Belong to God, there's a pretty clear delineation made between the night and the day. It hints as though Vessel is a different person in between those times. He remembers everything, only till the sun recedes once again. His memories are erased when the sun sets. In The Offering, this could also be what Vessel's referencing when he says, "Turn the page once again." As in, turn the page on who I used to be. Take a bite and bring me closer to your image. The user Lestat's Love also added in that apples are also symbolic of birth, life, death, and rebirth in paganism, which leans even further into that symbolism of erasure of identity. The apple being a symbol of Vessel dying and being reborn as a new person, a new vessel of his god. And going even further into the apple symbolism, user The Holly Hazard brings up that the apple is a symbol of knowledge. a precursor to the biblical imagery that will begin to run rampant through Sleep Token's discography in the coming releases. As the fruit of knowledge in the Garden of Eden is commonly portrayed in pop culture as an apple. And as you're probably already aware, the Garden of Eden will become pretty important symbolism later on. Last but not least, the user Almost Ready blessed us with this comment, reinterpreting the line, "thread the needle," as being more of a representation of Vessel's expectations being blown away at the start of this relationship. Basically saying that Sleep is accomplishing the impossible task of making him happy, making him feel loved and appreciated over and over. Appa, are you leaving? Are you gonna run up? Are you leaving me? Well, why'd you hop down if you want to get... Yip, yip. Come on, get back up. You're leaving hair all over me. Oh my god. Appa, yip, yip. Up, up, up. Good boy. Okay. You settle yourself however you feel, big guy. I hope you guys don't mind. Appa's just gonna kind of fucking be here. He doesn't really have any, regard for personal space. I find this really interesting because I feel like that's a component that I personally was missing a lot here at the very beginning. It did feel a little weird to me to have a song that I personally interpreted as Vessel already feeling shame about his relationship and already saying that Sleep is hurting him, but never quite pushing it too far, and then going into Fields of Elation where it's just pure honeymoon phase. I think this would make more sense. And here at the bottom, this user says, if I were to use a phrase like this, it's what I would be referring to, which is just, chef's kiss, because that's what I wanted so badly from this whole thing. I wanted for you guys to bring your own gut reactions, your own unfiltered interpretations, because these are experiences and perspectives that I wouldn't get otherwise. And I just, oh God, I love it. Another commenter, Gomery, gave their interpretation of When the Bow Breaks, and it frames it from Vessel's perspective. And I find this really interesting. Actually, side tangent here, I find all of the comments that say that I got the perspectives wrong incredibly interesting because of how much change is caused by shifting the perspectives of just a single song. Some of my favorite theories and corrections that I got in the comments stem from people saying, actually, I think this song is from the other perspective, because then I just have to mentally run through this ripple effect that it would have on all of the other songs, and I just find that really cool. Anyways, back to Gomery here. You could stay alive. Just tell me that you notice. They say that this is Vessel telling Sleep that she can stay with him, live in his mind, but only if she notices him, acknowledges him. And this draws more attention to the idea that Sleep needs Vessel far more than he needs her. Sleep is powerless without followers, and it sounds like Vessel might be her only one right now. She's weak and helpless without him, and this would be the point where Vessel makes her a deal, agrees to keep her alive, so to speak, to keep her in his mind and to spread the knowledge of her to others so long as she acknowledges him. This is one of those theories that I'm not entirely sold on myself, but I find it interesting nonetheless, and I wanted to include it because it has a good foundation, and maybe it'll encourage another theory crafter to elaborate on it further.
Foreshadowing is a literary device in...
Moving on to the 2 EP, Gomery mentions that this is what leads into the second EP, which they feel is, thematically, Vessel trying to break down Sleep's walls and convince Sleep to let him in, which is pretty similar to my own interpretation. However, the user Yellow Frog has a completely separate interpretation entirely. Yellow Frog feels like 2 is the blueprint for the rest of the discography, which I find really interesting because, little sneak peek here, there is a section of the song Past Self that I feel serves this exact same purpose. So it's interesting seeing someone else with a similar idea. Yellow Frog sees Calcutta as, thematically speaking, an intense worship of sleep, which lines up with sundowning. Nazareth is the point where Vessel's perspective changes, switching from worship and self-harm to violence against sleep. Jericho would correspond with Take Me Back to Eden and maybe even parts of Even in Arcadia, while the two singles would then correspond with Even in Arcadia, which I won't speak on this yet because I'm still working on the video for This Place Will Become Your Tomb, but this is very different from my interpretations of the next two albums. So I'm interested in hearing on your thoughts on those when we get there, Yellow Frog. So keep those in mind, because I want to hear from you. And speaking of Calcutta, Brian Almeida gave us a whole new perspective on Calcutta as a whole. Specifically that the city of Calcutta is connected to the goddess Kali, who is often associated with the cycle of creation, destruction, ego death, and divine knowledge, all three of which are concepts that we've already brought up in this video and the last. Which means I think this is probably a lot closer to the intended interpretation of the title, more so than my interpretation of its connection with Mother Teresa. So just so we're clear, Brian, you changed my mind, and as your reward, you get one bundle of Appa hair stuck to your clothes. For Nazareth, I got a lot of like-minded commenters, and they had two main corrections. The first was the interpretation of the line, "I'll show you what you look like from the inside." All three of these users made the connection that this isn't about a threat of physical violence like I had thought before. The Holly Hazard once again says it best. This is Sleep telling Vessel, "You're a monster, just like I am. I'll show you who you are inside." And while I'm still pretty solid on the threat of violence interpretation, I'm willing to adopt this as a double meaning because I love this. This is just another example of Sleep instilling that manipulation, trying to level the field. We see her do this again in Higher, where she tries to justify her behavior by saying, "We both instigate, we go back and forth, we lacerate, we both hurt each other. This is your fault as much as it is mine." The other comment I got a lot of is best summed up by Drizentide, who says the line, "They won't be missing you," could also be Sleep coaxing Vessel into leaving his life behind and embracing her fully, trying to erase any of the doubts that he may have had as he commits himself to her fully and leaves everything else behind. Which I really like as an interpretation as well, because this would show Sleep as actively trying to coerce Vessel forward as he does this whole ritual for her. There are also quite a few comments that disagree with my interpretation of the woman in Jaws and the way that you were. Some of them, like Danny the Disaster shows here, interpreted the woman as Sleep herself, which I find really interesting. The theory then would be that the version of the woman that we see in Jaws is Vessel, just being represented as being possessed by Sleep, which would then explain why we see Vessel in a few of the shots, sitting off to the side, almost like a spectator, glitching in and out throughout the static, almost like he is watching his own body be possessed and gazing upon it like he's in the passenger seat. And then this also would change the way that you were as well, making it so that Vessel is now singing to, reaching for, and being ignored by Sleep, rather than his former self. I don't necessarily like this interpretation as much as I like my interpretation of it being Vessel, but I do definitely see where it has merit and it makes a lot of sense. And quite frankly, I think it's entirely possible that this is the more correct way of interpreting it. I'm just latching on to my initial interpretation because I'm really emotionally moved by the way that Vessel reaches out for that woman in the way that you were, and it being a ballad about him singing out to the person that he used to be and longing for that person that he knows he'll never be again. It just touches something in my heart a little bit. I can't let it go. I'm very sorry. In Take Aim, I got this comment from It's Unworldly, who also happens to be the first ever member of
The Council.
Thank you so much for that, by the way. And they make a really solid point here. For the line, "You make me hate myself, make me tear my body," Unworldly theorizes that this is Sleep telling Vessel that she is also participating in self-harm, and she's blaming Vessel for that. She says Vessel makes her hurt herself. Vessel is to blame. I think the way Unworldly put it in the comment is that this comes across more like her saying, "This hurts me more than it hurts you," which then to me leans pretty heavily on the themes that we've already established. It's just another form of manipulation for her. When Vessel self-harms, he hides it away. He is afraid of Sleep finding out, afraid that she'll be angry when she does. Sleep shoves it in Vessel's face, tells him, "Look at what you've done to me. Look what you made me do. This is your fault." Hanzo Hasashi and a few others have also brought up the idea that Take Aim may be alternating perspectives throughout the song, which I find really interesting because I'm not sure personally where I would delineate the perspectives, but that would explain a lot why I had such a hard time determining the perspective of this song and who was singing it. Plus, I did find it a little suspicious that Jaws was the only song that I could identify that alternated perspectives consistently throughout the song as though it was a dialogue. It's definitely something I'm going to analyze more, but my best guess now would be similar to what Hanzo says in the comment here, where Sleep is singing most of the song, but maybe this bridge about hating myself and tearing my body is instead from Vessel, like his response to her pushing. Last but not least, in our individual song corrections, I got quite a few people that had some corrections for gods. And I was very excited about these because despite my overwhelmingly confident facade, I was not the most confident about this interpretation. Specifically, all of these comments have told me that they see gods from Sleep's perspective. And honestly, I can see that, to the point where I personally think I was wrong. This is the one major correction that I got that I feel both changed my mind and was significant enough of a difference in my interpretation that it warrants me basically redoing my analysis of this song from the ground up. Huge props to Little Man, who was the first one to hit me with this theory and really change my mind about it, with some honorable mentions to Mark Seafried Drums and Avisaurus, because they commented the same thing shortly after. So, rather than picking through individual lines, I'm just going to give you the whole thing a second time. So, without further ado, here is my updated interpretation of gods. Sometimes the emotion of these songs can be ambiguous or up to interpretation, but this song is not the case. The half-assed apology that Sleep gave in the last song was not enough, not by a long shot. And Vessel still hasn't forgiven Sleep, still hasn't let her back in. And this enrages her. She let her walls down. She stooped low enough to beg for Vessel's affection, for his love and forgiveness, and still he rejects her? No. No, this won't stand. This can't stand. She begins to spiral. I see the gods avert their gaze from me. My fucking form is but a wreck beneath them. And there are always people that I can call on. Oh, it's all so easy for me. Sleep has been holding in years of anger, it seems. She still resents the other gods, still holds bitter fury towards them as they simply ignored her fall from grace, did nothing to slow her loss of prominence. She mockingly says, "Oh, of course, there's always people I can call on, except for everyone who claims to care abandons me. First, my followers, then the gods, and now, Vessel. we're seeing her completely unravel, and using her past trauma, her dwindling powers, and her abandonment as ammunition to lash out at Vessel. Almost as if to say, how dare you leave me now? How dare you walk away? Don't you know what I've been through? Don't you know how this hurts me? How could you do this to me?
No more taking chances. No more teeth to bite with. No more smiling faces. I am alone again.
Fine, she says. No more teeth to bite with. No more fun. No more affection. No more love. Once again, I am alone, abandoned by those who claimed to love me. Once again, she's pulling out this pity tactic, like she's saying, feel bad for me. Everyone always leaves me. I knew you were going to leave me too. Boo hoo hoo. All while completely ignoring and refusing to take accountability for the fact that, well, maybe there's a reason everyone left. Maybe there's a reason why Sleep lost worshippers en masse to the point where Vessel seems to be one of the very few she has left. But of course, from her perspective, it's everyone else's fault. Everyone else is inconsistent. Everyone else is abusive for abandoning her. It couldn't be her behavior at all.
You wanna talk? You wanna talk it out? 'Cause the joke's on me and I'm laughing too. You wanna watch me beg because I beg so well? It's all so easy for me.
And here we get to the heart of the issue. We're done dancing around the subject, done pretending that this was about anything else other than this. Sleep is furious that Vessel made her stoop this low, made her beg, made her praise him for his actions. She's above that. She's a god. She does not deserve to be treated this way. She's above this. She's above him. And it's time to show him that. It's implied here that this is all taking place during yet another violent outburst towards Vessel, with the line,
"And do you like the way it feels? Like fire from the heavens, carving past the surface into you. And do you like the way it feels? Like fire from the heavens tearing me asunder beside you."
Once again, Sleep is trying to tell Vessel that this hurts me just as much as it hurts you. I am torn asunder beside you. You know I don't like to do this, but you left me no choice. And frankly, you must enjoy it to an extent. You keep provoking me like this, keep pushing me to react. Sleep takes a brief break to catch her breath, to gaze at the destruction around her, before launching the offensive once again. This is catastrophically violent, and it leaves Vessel broken and battered, as we see in the visualizer as it shows footage of explosions, mushroom clouds, erupting volcanoes, and the ruins of cities in the wake of devastation, as Vessel succumbs to the fire in the most explosive way imaginable. Now, before we move on to the more wholesale alternate theories, I wanted to bring up a few comments that felt more like broad additions and corrections that added to my analysis without really changing it fundamentally. Like Leechchasm, for example, who feels as though Sleep's need for Vessel runs a lot deeper than just a psychological desire. They think that Vessel leaving runs a more serious existential threat for Sleep. It's almost like the tulpa in Who's Lila, where the only thing keeping Lila alive is that there are people that know of her and think of her. Knowledge of Sleep sustains her. And when he tries to leave, when he tries to let her go, it causes her physical pain. I really enjoy this idea because it gives Vessel a lot more power in this relationship, and it also raises the stakes a lot more for Sleep and explains a lot about why she behaves the way that she does. Lynn Griffin also gave some interesting perspectives on the concept of channeling, which, if I'm understanding right, is a kind of spiritual, esoteric idea of someone using their body to host a higher being, which has some interesting connections to our lore here. He brings up a few interesting points, one specifically being that the person doing the channeling would need to have specific skill or knowledge to be a proper vessel, which would then make sense why Sleep is so desperate and clingy to Mr. Vessel Marie Token. He must possess something within him that makes him particularly suitable for this kind of channeling. But then he also talks about the experience of someone actively doing the channeling, how they would feel like they're a passenger in their own body. Sound familiar?
Foreshadowing is a literary device in
The user, the Holly Hazard, also left a comment mentioning the concept of reactive abuse, which, like, damn, Holly, at this point, I just need to, like, run my scripts by you, because this is 3 for 3 on pointing out cool shit that I didn't think of. But anyways, yes, reactive abuse plays a huge part in this entire situation. Especially if we think about the thing that Sleep said in Higher. I already mentioned it earlier, but when she says that they both instigate, they both go back and forth and lacerate, she very well may be right. Vessel might be lashing out, might be hurting her back and abusing her in his own way. In my original interpretation of Gods, where it's Vessel lashing out, that could be what we're seeing there. But the difference is that Vessel wouldn't be reacting this way if he wasn't already a victim of abuse, if it wasn't in reaction to her behavior towards him. But this is how these cycles get perpetuated. This is how they happen over and over and over again, because Vessel isn't like Sleep. When Vessel hears Sleep say, "You hurt me," Vessel feels guilt, because that's not who he wants to be, and it makes it easier for her to guilt him into going around the cycle once more. The user Lala Kitty left an awesome comment elaborating on their interpretation of the relationship between Sleep and Vessel. Again, I'll place the comment here if you'd like to pause and read the entire thing. But to summarize, they see Sleep as being truly earnest, as being honest and genuine throughout the entire album. Sleep does love Vessel in her own unique way, but the relationship between a god and a human is not traditionally one of romance. And that friction of disconnect is where problems can begin to arise. Vessel needs affection, closeness, emotional vulnerability, and Sleep just cannot give him that. She's a god. She's literally beyond that. It kind of reminds me of my first few relationships. For those of you who don't know, I'm asexual, demisexual to be specific, although the former is a lot easier to explain. And before I realized that about myself, I dated people that I was just fundamentally incompatible with, because I was asexual and they were very much not. And it led to a lot of problems. And in a couple of cases, it led to some abuse, because they wanted things that I fundamentally didn't. And that incompatibility, for the record, was not an excuse for the abuse. No is a complete sentence, kids. Remember that. Just like Sleep's incompatibility with Vessel here isn't an excuse for the abuse that she's dealing out either. But all behavior has meaning, and I think that this may be one meaning that makes sense. I also had a few comments theorizing that I myself was secretly Vessel coming to tell you the true interpretations of the lore, or that I had some kind of secret dream link that he used to feed me this information. And while these theories are not correct, A, I'm incredibly flattered, and B, God, I wish that they were, because I have a list of questions that I want to ask him, and even though I know we may never get a non-cryptic interview from Vessel as a musician, Mr. Vessel Marie Token, in case you happen to be seeing this, I do just have to ask, number one, how do you structure your songs while you're writing? Do you sit down and write them in order, like one at a time, or do you, and two, write the actual music and instrumentals first and then just kind of come up with the lyrics after you've decided the narrative order? I'm just so interested in knowing what your process is and how you go about it. Question two, I've got to know what your biggest prog inspirations are, and I know that you have some. I hear it in the music, and I hear it specifically with two. Two, if you're watching this, I know that you have prog inspirations. So what are they? Periphery? Dream Theater? Polaris? Veil of Maya, perhaps? Let me know. Question number three, and this one is for Vessel and Ivy. Where did you learn to scream, and can you teach me? And if not, could you, like, I don't know, ask Will Ramos to teach me? That man worships the ground that you walk on. I bet you money that if you were to be like, hey, look up Timpft on YouTube, go find this guy, his name is Austin, go teach him how to scream. I bet you money if you just asked him politely, he would do it. This one's less a question and more of just a statement of appreciation. Before Sleep Token, I had never found an artist that both matched my music taste and my vocal range, and having songs that I can sing in the car without ripping out my vocal cords or having to pitch them down has truly meant so much to me, and I just wanted to express my appreciation for that. The odds of you seeing this are incredibly slim, but I didn't want to waste an opportunity to say that. Your voice is amazing, and it genuinely makes me feel better about my own, because I have always hated my voice for being either too high or, more commonly, too low to sing the things that I enjoyed in a way that sounded good to me. So thank you for that. Okay, enough sappy bullshit and wishful thinking. Back to the theories. Striver commented that they believe that in my video, my analysis gave Sleep too much of a presence, and that more of the songs were from Vessel's perspective than I initially thought. And honestly, there's some credence to that. I'll let you read the whole comment here for their examples, but to summarize, the main example they give is The Way That You Were, which they saw as Vessel talking to, or trying to talk to, the significant other that they killed in Nazareth. And that ominous cue tells me that now is the perfect time to segue into our list of theories that are so completely divorced from my own interpretations and exist in their own category. So let's dive into what I've taken to calling our alternate reality theories are what I call the theories that are so far away from my interpretations that they would basically require a full reinterpretation of the text to understand them in their entirety. They're not corrections to my analysis. They are a complete alternate reality leagues away from my analysis. They exist on their own continuum. Consider them different worlds in the Sleep Token multiverse. And we're gonna put a pin in Striver's interpretation here for just a second, and we'll come back to it. First, let's dip our toes in. The user, Miki Destiny, brought up the point that they had never considered Sleep as being humanized and given agency. They'd largely considered all of the songs from Vessel's perspective and left Sleep as more of an abstract concept, a representation of Vessel's fear, trauma, wrath, etc., which I think would also be a really interesting perspective to explore, because that would change literally every part of the analysis and make it so much more centered around Vessel and his internal monologue. My biggest question for this theory, though, is since most of the songs are in the second person, as Vessel is singing to an unnamed you. Who is he singing to? Would he be singing more to himself? Would he be singing more to Sleep, but in a more abstract way? Let me know in the comments, MMD, or anyone else for that matter, because I'm curious about your thoughts on this and I would love to hear them. For the record, I will be asking questions about every theory in this section moving forward, not because I'm trying to pick them apart or dismantle them, but because I'm wanting to help you develop the theory more for something that we're going to talk about here in just a few seconds. Aline Malta gave their own theory. They feel as though the differences in gender between the interviews and later songs is intentionally drawing to a completely different character. The second half of Sleep, so to speak. They call this other half Sleepy as a placeholder and consider that each time Vessel says she, it is Sleep talking about his other half through Vessel. The idea is that they existed together in this pantheon of gods, but Sleepy betrays Sleep and he is banished and stripped of all of his power. And then, that's when he finds Vessel, who helps Sleep regain his power and tell his story. I find this theory really interesting, and I would love to hear a breakdown of how this lines up in the lyrics, because I think this introduces some really interesting dynamics later on down the line. Like in Alkaline, is that meant to be Sleep talking about his other half? Or is this Vessel changing alliances? The user Luppa has their own idea about the gender discrepancy, specifically that Vessel is simply the storyteller of Sleep's life, and the connections between him and this unnamed her. The core remains the same, an abusive and toxic relationship between them, but the power imbalance is far less because both entities are divine and all-powerful, leaving Vessel as more of a bystander or an observer. Part of why I like this interpretation so much is that it leans more heavily into this imagery of Vessel looking on and learning, like a child would learn from his parents, and it creates some really interesting parallels for Vessel's next relationship in Even in Arcadia. We're not going to talk about that yet today. In addition to the comment before that described 2 as an outline of the story, to the EP, not to the drummer, Yellow Frog also hit me with this massive theory that connects Sleep Token's lore to the Nag Hammadi text, Gnosticism, and Jungian Carl Jung, so it'd be Jungian psychology. This is especially interesting because I know a little bit about Gnosticism, but not a lot, and definitely not as much as Yellow Frog explained here, but enough that I was immediately hooked the moment I realized where this theory was headed. My understanding of Gnosticism was that there's a separate plane of existence above our own that is more or less heaven, where multiple deities live, and one of them created a fucked up snake monster that's not quite a god, but is still pretty powerful. And the gods kicked it out of heaven and sent it into its own little plane of existence, where it created earth and life and humans out of the essence of divinity or something. And that fucked up snake monster is the Christian Abrahamic God, which is why in the Old Testament he's so spiteful and vengeful and jealous, and it's why he punishes people for worshiping other gods. And based on Yellow Frog's comment, I wasn't far off, but there is a lot more to it here. And the way that Yellow Frog relates this to Sleep Token is incredibly interesting, because Vessel mistaking Sophia, the god who created the demiurge being the fucked up snake monster, Vessel is mistaking Sophia as the other gods, and he has a hard time differentiating them and thinks that they are all Sleep. And as Vessel doesn't have the capacity to tell them apart, he's filled with this overwhelming conflict where Sleep, in his mind, keeps buffering back and forth between being vindictive and abusive to being kind and loving and begging him to stop hurting himself. This is another one where I feel like I need a full in-depth explanation of this song by song, because I find this so insanely interesting, and as you can tell by my understanding of Gnosticism compared to Yellow Frog's understanding of Gnosticism, I do not have the understanding to be able to craft this theory myself. And now, last but not least, let's talk about... I've been holding this one off for last for 3 main reasons. The first is that when I was doing my initial research for this whole project, back when I was just crafting this theory for my own personal use, and this video wasn't even really a thought in my mind yet, I saw this theory pop up over and over and over again. And it was, in my opinion, never explained well or very thoroughly. So I had a really hard time getting behind it. This is editing, Austin, and I just want to slip in this little caveat that when I say the other theories that I found online weren't thorough enough, you have to take that with a grain of salt, because this is coming from the guy who spent... I don't have a watch. This is coming from the guy who spent 3 hours to explain one album. So like, my personal preferences are a little different than that of like a sane person. I'm just extremely long-winded and have zero self-control when it comes to word count, and that's how I like my content as well. So anyways, back to the regular video. The second is that this theory came up in the comments a lot. More than literally any other theory. There were probably like 10 or more people that in one way or another referenced this theory, or at least came close to what my mind was connecting to this theory. And before I tell you my third reason, let's dive into what the Eden theory actually is. And courtesy of an incredible explanation by Hypatia in my Discord server, I feel like I actually understand it well enough to at the very least give you a solid summary or explanation. Hey, it's me again. I just wanted to add in that I got the pronunciation here wrong. It is pronounced Hypaga, not Hypatia. More like the Kingdom Hearts like third tier spell. You know, you have Hype, Hypra, and then Hypaga. Before any of you come into the comments saying, it's Final Fantasy, it comes from Final Fantasy, and Kingdom Hearts stole that from Final... Shut up. We're a Kingdom Hearts household, and I won't take any of that slander here. I've recently had a very long conversation with Hypaga, literally as of last night at time of recording this, in which he explained to me his entire theory. I don't spoil any of it here in this video, and I'm not gonna spoil any of it for you guys, but I am very excited for y'all to see it because I think a lot of you are going to enjoy it. Anyways, back to the main topic. I've got to stop doing these interjections or this video is never going to get done. The Eden theory centers around the idea that the woman that Vessel sacrifices in Nazareth is a former lover. The idea is that Vessel sacrifices this woman, Eden, during Nazareth, and that she eventually becomes a focal point for Vessel's journey. Some claim that this is the she that Vessel is referring to later, which would then resolve the gender tension that we had talked about previously. Some also claim that this person is the central focus of Take Me Back to Eden, the title of the album and the title track being Vessel literally begging to return to this past relationship, to return to Eden. Some feel as though Eden, following her sacrifice in Nazareth, becomes deified in her own right, or at least takes some sort of ethereal form that Vessel is still able to loosely communicate to. Some feel as though she just hangs over Vessel, a looming ghost of his past, a thought in the back of his head that he's never quite able to shake. I personally have had a really hard time wrapping my head around this theory enough to pick it apart and make a cohesive song-by-song analysis, but luckily, I don't have to. Do you remember my pal Hypatia that I mentioned earlier? You see, as he was explaining his theory to me, Hypatia decided that instead of just messaging me all of his juicy secrets or revealing them over a Discord call, he decided he's going to make his own video essay about his theory, which was incredibly exciting for me because little do y'all know that the reason that I started this whole project, the reason that I started making this essay is because I couldn't find any other videos on YouTube that scratched that itch for me. So many of them just completely skip over the EPs as if they don't exist. So I said, fuck it. I'm gonna make my own video essay about Sleep Token, and it's gonna be the one that I wish existed already. And clearly it's the one that you all wish to exist too, because what the fuck are these numbers? So the moment that Hypatia is done with his video, you better believe that I will be linking it in all of the descriptions, in the posts, on my Discord, on my Twitch channel, because this is the type of shit that I want to see. This is what I want more of, but that's not all. Because soon after this conversation with Hypatia, I had another conversation with Trash Panda, another lovely member of our Discord. You should join the Discord, by the way. If you're not already in there, you should be. Come join us. We have fun. We have movie nights every week. Join us. Trash Panda and I were having a conversation because they had an idea for some kind of collaborative, community-wide project for the following videos. And as cool of an idea as this was, it had two main problems. One, my interpretations for the next 3 albums are already done. They have been for some time. I solidified my theory for Even in Arcadia within 2 weeks of its release. And two, even if we did do a separate community project theory / video, as you can see, there are so many theories, and while a good chunk of them can be debated, amended, and added on to my original theories, these alternate reality theories, they exist on a whole different continuum than my own. There is no parallel or intersection between them, and reconciling them will only leave one or both sides feeling unheard. But then I thought, what if I don't have to reconcile them? After all, each theory exists on its own continuum, each one contained within its own multiverse, within its own set of rules and beliefs. Why would I try to fit them all into the same video? Why would I ask someone else to sacrifice or dilute their creative vision just to satisfy my own? No, that's ridiculous. And then I thought to myself, there's only one solution. I have to do what Hypatia is doing. I have to create a video for every multiverse. Each theory needs its own video, its own time in the spotlight, but I can't be the one to make them. I don't believe these theories. I don't process them in the same way that you all do. I need more people like Hypatia. I need more theorists, more minds for thinking, more hands for typing, more voices for recording, which is why today I present you the most ambitious project that the Timpft channel has ever attempted. Today, I announce the official Timpft TOKENVERSE community project. It's still a working title. We'll iron that out later. I'm still plotting this out and working out the details, but as of right now, here's how this will work. If you'd like to join this project, there are 2 links in the description below. One is to a Google form. On that form is a single question. What is your alternate reality? Below that will be a multiple choice question, listing each of the alternate reality theories we've discussed today, labeled in order of appearance as abstract sleep, dual gods, the Gnosticism allegory, and of course, the Eden theory. There will also be an other option, which will allow for you to type in your own answer, write a brief description of your alternate reality, and a shorthand title for it. Once you've done that, the other link will lead to the official Timpft Discord server. Upon joining the server, you will find a channel titled TOKENVERSE Sorter. There, in the pinned messages for the channel, you will find a list of all current alternate realities. You will send a message in that channel letting me know which one you would like to work on, and I will assign you that role. Your Discord role will get you access to 2 channels, 1 voice channel and 1 text channel, specifically designated for your alternate reality. Both can be used freely to communicate with your fellow theorists. In the pinned messages of your text channel, there will be a link to a Google Doc. This will be your shared document. This will be where you write your script. You see, you and your group will get the opportunity to work together to formulate your own overarching theory based around your ideas and interpretations. I am happy to help as much or as little as you would like. But the end goal of this project is that each theory gets its own spotlight. Each theory, its own video essay. How you reach that end goal will be entirely up to you and your fellow theorists. I will be mostly hands-off, just providing basic moderation in the community. Every so often, if your group gets stuck on a line, or maybe if I simply have an interesting idea pop into my head, I may drop a message in every so often. But otherwise, this reality is your oyster. A huge chunk of footage got corrupted, and rather than do a whole new take, I'm just going to record this here. Going into this project, I'm fully aware of some of the limitations that people are working with. I know that some people don't have access to a good microphone. Some people aren't comfortable having their voice in a video. So if it reaches the point where the script is done and we're ready to start recording and nobody in the group is willing or able to provide their voice, I'm more than happy to help. The same thing goes for editing. I know that not everybody has access to a computer or a good editing software, and if it reaches the point where all the recordings are done and everything's ready to be edited together, but we don't have anybody that is willing, or maybe we have 2 or 3 people that are willing to edit portions of the video, they just have never used an editing software before and need to learn, I'm more than happy to help in whatever way that looks like. However, I will give the caveat that if the way that I'm requested to help is by editing the video itself, that is gonna take some time because I do also have my own projects. Like I said, I'm still kind of figuring out how this is all going to work, and we're definitely going to encounter some bugs and some roadblocks along the way, but I think if we work through them and if we work together as a community, we'll probably be able to make a really cool project out of this. As far as posting the videos goes, I'm going to be posting them to my channel for 2 main reasons. Reason number 1, with the sheer number of people involved, I'm trying to avoid a battle in the Discord at the end of my project because the group can't agree on who should get to post it. I can already hear fights about, well, it's my voice, I recorded the voiceover, so I should get to post it. Well, I did half of the editing, so I should get to post it. Well, I did the other half of the editing, so I should get to post it, and so on and so on. So rather than have any of those arguments, I'm just going to post the videos on this channel, and in the description of each video, I will link everybody that is involved in that video and all of their socials and anything that they want to be linked to that. The second reason is because of the sleep token music that will inevitably be featured in these videos, they're probably going to be copyrighted anyways, so I won't be making anything from this. In my head, this is a good way for me to help lower the barrier for entry for people to make something cool and be able to say, hey, look, that's my name on that video with however many 1,000 views. If anyone has an issue with this specific part of it, I'm more than happy to take some ideas on a more fair solution. I'm just trying to find a good middle ground because this isn't something that I think anyone has done before, so there's not really a guidebook for this. Now, going into this, I have some rules. Rule number 1, absolutely no doxing the band under any circumstances, period, end of discussion. That means no using their personal names, no referencing them outside of Sleep Token, none of that. If you still think that this is okay, you clearly were not paying attention to Caramel, so go listen to it again while you go sit in the corner and think about what you've done. Rule number 2, obviously, no hate speech, no bullying, etc., etc., etc. You don't get to tell another member of the group that they're stupid because they disagree with your theory that Vessel is a former KGB spy from the Cold War. Just be nice to each other. Rule number 3, no generative AI. This means no AI generated images, no AI generated videos, no ChatGPT, no character AI, none of that shit. The people of Memphis will thank you for not contributing to the chlorine in their lungs. And rule number 4, I will get the final review of all scripts and videos before they are posted. And this is mostly just to make sure that the scripts and videos are following rules number 1, 2, and 3. If you're not somebody that enjoys working in a group, I am more than happy to give advice and guidance if you wanted to make your own solo video like Hypatia is doing. But if you want to be a part of an incredibly ambitious community project and you want to see how this goes, I hope I see you in the Discord. And with that out of the way, and our alternate reality theories addressed, before we dig into our deluxe content, I want to take a second to introduce our brand new Patreon. Now, I wasn't even really planning on making a Patreon, at least not this early, but I literally had a few of you in the comments asking where it was. So I did go ahead and make one, and everything on the Patreon is available for just $1 a month. This will include bonus videos like these relaxed vlog style videos where I briefly summarize my overarching theories of This Place Will Become Your Tomb, Take Me Back to Eden, and even in Arcadia in a shorter, less in-depth way to serve as a little teaser for the video essays on those albums that will eventually follow. It also includes alternate cuts, including the alternate cut for this video with all the Sleep Token music intact. You'll also get a special and unique Discord role that gets you access to a Patreon exclusive section of the Discord. And finally, your name will be in the credits of all of my videos. All of these benefits and more in the future are available if you join the flock for just $1 a month. If you're crazy and would like to support me even more, you can also join the Inner Circle, which gives you all of the same benefits as the flock, with its own unique Discord role and a more prominent feature at the end of each video. And if you're even more insane, if you're even more diabolical, for $5 a month, you can join the Council. As a member of the Council, you will receive all of the previous benefits, as well as a unique Discord role. You will also be identified by name at the end of each video, so that the world may know where you stand, so that the world may know what you've done. There is no going back. You've made this choice. You've crossed the threshold. You've contributed to what is coming. There is no return. So check out my Patreon over at patreon.com/Timpft if you want to donate and give some extra support. I don't have any delusions of being able to quit my job to do this full time, but your donations do help me be able to afford better recording equipment like microphones and cameras, better things for my set, like a bigger green screen that I can, actually move in front of, lighting for the green screen so that it doesn't look like garbage, as well as hopefully eventually access to a good stock video subscription service, because Pixabay and Pexels, I love you to death. You've really come through for me, but God, you are so limited to the point where I recorded over an hour worth of my own B-roll footage while I was on vacation last week, so that I had stuff that I knew I was actually going to want to use. Your support will also help me be able to take less overtime and take more time off of work to work on these videos that I really love making. But if you can't donate, I want you to know that liking this video, leaving a nice comment, sharing it to your friends, all of those things that you guys have already been doing is already a huge support. I cannot stress enough how much I was not expecting the last video to explode the way that it did, and it literally means the world to me. And it's opened the door for me to do these huge, ambitious community projects like the TOKENVERSE project. So thank you all so much, and as an extra 2,000 subscriber special treat, may I present to you all I have been on the edge of my seat waiting to bring this song up ever since I realized that I forgot to include it. By which I mean I of course intentionally left it out so that I could include it in this 2,000 subscriber special. This is a cover, and in my personal opinion, I don't feel like the covers that Sleep Token makes are meant to be interpreted narratively line for line like the other songs. I feel like instead they're more meant to be interpreted thematically. But this song is special. And in order to get the broad scope of how I feel about this song, I think we need to go way back, before Sleep Token, and look at Outkast's original version. The Outkast version is upbeat and poppy, and it became iconic as a dance song. So much so that when I've tried to have this conversation with fans of the song or fans of Outkast, I always get a weird look. Because when most people think of Hey Ya, they think of a fun dance song, a fun boppy vibe, written by the group that wrote Land of a Million Drums for the hit 2002 cinematic masterpiece, Scooby-Doo.
In the land of a million drums, there is always something going on.
So when I tell them that Hey Ya is a beautiful and morose piece of poetry that uses the juxtaposition of the heavy subject matter of the lyrics and the facade of upbeat R&B poppy dance music to create a clear and obvious disconnect between the two as a commentary on the fact that we as a society have begun to use music, a medium that has historically been used to talk about the heaviest of human emotions, to instead create mindless upbeat dance music, when I tell them that I believe that Outkast used this song as a commentary both on the impermanence of relationships, the desire to stay in a failing relationship out of the fear of being alone, and the way that traditionally black music genres like R&B, funk, and hip-hop were being co-opted by mainstream music, stripped of the emotion and meaning that they once held and forced into this cookie-cutter, upbeat, dance-centric genre that eventually morphed into modern pop music. Well, yeah, they usually give me a weird look and then they change the subject. But you can't stop me now, Jordan. I'm gonna fucking talk about it now and there's nothing you can do to stop me. Like I said, this song is a clear commentary on the difficulty of maintaining a relationship. How easy it is for relationships to become routine, monotonous, and loveless. And how hard it is to leave those relationships that you know are toxic, that you know are abusive, harmful, or even just devoid of feeling, because it's easier to have a relationship that sucks than it is to be alone. In the first verse, we see these themes start immediately. My baby don't mess around because she loves me so, and this I know for sure. But does she really want to, but can't stand to see me walk out the door? Starting with a clear statement of confidence, followed immediately by a crack in the facade, showing the insecurity that lies beneath. My partner would never cheat on me. She loves me, but maybe she wants to. Maybe the only thing keeping her from doing it is not her love for me, not her loyalty, but the fear that she'll lose this stability. Don't try to fight the feeling, because the thought alone is killing me right now. Thank God for mom and dad for sticking through together, because we don't know how. Andre 3000 has openly shared in interviews that this isn't directly in reference to his own parents, but specifically the general concepts of parents and tradition. In an interview that Andre did with MTV, he said, and I quote, Hey Ya is pretty much about the state of relationships in the 2000s. It's about some people who stay together in relationships because of tradition, because somebody told them, you guys are supposed to stay together, but you pretty much end up being unhappy for the rest of your life. The next chorus keeps this theme going. And when they say that nothing is forever, then what makes love the exception? Why, oh why are we so in denial when we know that we're not happy here? And this speaks for itself, doesn't it? The last line summarizes everything pretty succinctly. Why are we so in denial when we know that we're not happy here? Why do we refuse to accept that the relationship is over, that love isn't forever, when we know that we aren't happy, that staying here is hurting us both? And as the chorus chimes back in and takes over the song, we hear Andre say the line that should hit you like a punch to the gut. Y'all don't want to hear me. You just want to dance. And from here, the song takes a turn and starts becoming more explicitly sexual. He starts talking about how he doesn't want to meet this girl's parents, how he only cares about sex. He does the classic call and response. And then he goes into the famous shake it like a Polaroid section. I'm not going to go too in-depth on these parts because this section is already too damn long, the video is already too damn long, and these don't really connect much to Sleep Token. But trust me when I say there are a lot of double meanings and really interesting wordplay in this area of the song that is worth dissecting, and I would love to go over it another time. But overall, this second half of the song feels like it's Andre resigning and giving up on trying to have a serious conversation. And he just switches to this cookie cutter dance music type style, and it's just, chef's kiss. Oh God, it's incredible. So how does this relate to Sleep Token? Well, if we slow it down for a second, Sleep Token strips out the entire second half of the song and takes the first half into this slow, melancholy piano instrumental, cutting through the previously upbeat vibes of the song and showing it for what it really is. The emotion that was hidden behind this happy facade of the original is laid bare before us. The themes are pretty self-evident. Vessel wants out of this relationship. He knows this isn't healthy. He knows that his relationship with sleep is painful and horrible, but it's easier than being alone. Just a brief mention here at the top, the deluxe edition of Sundowning did come with a Room Below version of Bloodsport. For those who are unaware, the Room Below is in reference to a few shows that Vessel did at the Lafayette, which is a small underground venue in London. There's thankfully some videos of this on YouTube, and I would highly recommend checking them out. Vessel did them mostly alone, though there was at least one song in his cover of Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen, where one of the Aspera comes out to join him. But this was a far more intimate venue and was mostly Vessel singing and playing guitar or piano. Much like that, all of the production of the original Bloodsport is stripped away from this version. It's just Vessel, alone, playing piano as he sings. And it is fucking heartbreaking. The emotion in his voice is far more raw in this version, and it truly hits just a little different. But otherwise, lyrically, it is the same song. Shelter is the one original track that is only included on the deluxe edition and only exists as a Room Below version. I believe this song is from the perspective of Vessel, and it's almost like an alternate epilogue. When it rains, you don't take shelter. You don't take signs from God. Here, it feels like Vessel is telling Sleep, when it rains, when bad things happen, you don't take shelter. You don't take it as a sign from God to change. You just bear the brunt of it, and you just let it happen to you. And when you can't swallow your demons, you become starving. Darling, I'm noticing your flaws. They're exactly what I want. Even if you don't believe me, know it. This feels like Vessel is showing us that even now, even after all of this, there's a part of him that truly loves her. And even more than that, there's a part of him that is completely in awe of her. Absolutely wrapped up in his feelings for her and reassuring her here that no matter what, he's not going anywhere. He notices her flaws. He won't pretend she's perfect, but they're exactly what he wants. As you become part of my waking rituals, I can tell. You gather up all of my demons. You become starving. Darling, I'm noticing my flaws, and I'm matching them with yours. Take me where you're going this time. Vessel has begun incorporating sleep into his life. She's on his mind from the moment he wakes up now, and as if to try and put himself and sleep on the same level, he tells her that he's self-aware enough of his own flaws, and he's matching them with hers. They're compatible together. His jagged edges fit perfectly with hers like a puzzle piece. And then he asks her gently to take him with her. That when she leaves this time, when she abandons him, can he come with? Can he just stay with her for once? And no matter the cost of rain, I will shelter you all the same. No matter what comes, no matter what catastrophe may strike, no matter what trouble the weather may bring, and no matter how it hurts him, Vessel is willing to shelter Sleep, to be her protector, to care for her. He's desperate for her to stay, and he's willing to do anything at this point. And now and then, I notice you laughing at perfect death, and then you change, suddenly hollow. You become starving. Darling, we must have met before, though I could not say for sure if we knew what we were in for. This perfect death line stumped me a little bit, because obviously we could say that Sleep just finds joy in cruelty, in the murder and sacrifice that Vessel completes for her, or maybe even just in the harm that she brings to Vessel himself. But then that didn't really explain the perfect part. But then I discovered a book written by Helen Fields, an English author that wrote a series about a detective called D.I. Kalanick, and the third book is called Perfect Death. And let me just read you the synopsis here. Unknown to D.I. Luke Kalanick and the newly appointed DCI Ava Turner, a serial killer has Edinburgh firmly in its grip. The killer is taking his victims in the coldest, most calculating way possible, engineering slow and painful deaths by poison, with his victims entirely unaware of the drugs flooding their bloodstream until it's too late. This could be telling us that Vessel has continued making sacrifices to Sleep to the point where he's become a serial killer. But it could also be telling us that Sleep is slowly, metaphorically, poisoning Vessel, infecting him from the inside. The connection here is technically possible. This book released in early 2018 and Sundowning released in mid-2019. But maybe not, just a thought. But then, Sleep changes suddenly. She becomes hollow, starving, and I'm wondering if this constant reference to starving is hinting that Sleep is maybe sustaining herself off of Vessel in a more physical way, like the pain that she inflicts on him is what keeps her alive. Maybe what allows her to leave, to abandon Vessel and to go off to who knows where, only to come back when she needs another fix. Put a pin in this, because we'll come back here in a bit to talk about where this fits in. This is our first Room Below cover, and it's one of my favorite Billie Eilish songs of all time, and Vessel's version of it is incredible. Now again, I don't think that the covers are meant to be taken line for line, but more conceptually. But let's break this one down nonetheless. Don't you know I'm no good for ya? I've learned to lose. You can't afford to. Tore my shirt to stop you bleeding, but nothing ever stops you leaving. This entire song feels like someone calling out a one-sided relationship, saying, I tore my own shirt to heal your wounds, but I've had to learn to put up with losing you because nothing I do stops you from leaving. Quiet when I'm coming home and I'm on my own. I could lie, say I like it like that. Just like in Hey Ya, we're dealing with this idea of lying to yourself to save the relationship, pretending that you enjoy this, that you like the way things are, that you actually prefer it this way, prefer to walk home alone, to be abused like this because it's easier than letting go. Don't you know too much already? I'll only hurt you if you let me. Call me friend, but keep me closer, and I'll call you when the party's over. This line feels full of bitter resentment, especially these last two lines. Call me friend, but keep me closer, like Sleep is holding Vessel at arm's length, trying to define the relationship as one thing but treating it like something more. And this last line, I'll call you when the party's over, is like a cold retort to this behavior, like saying, fuck you, I'll talk to you after I've had my fun. Leave me alone for now. In the second chorus, the lines stay the same, but Vessel breaks down. The whole song is, once again, much like Bloodsport, towing this line of wanting to convince yourself to stay in the relationship, to keep putting up with it, knowing you can't. And this one is leaning far heavier into can't territory. In a surprising change, we get an amazing cover of the Whitney Houston classic, I Wanna Dance with Somebody. And it's strange how many of the lyrics make direct parallels to our story. Clock strikes upon the hour, and the sun begins to fade. Still enough time to figure out how to chase my blues away. It's this reference here to the sun going down, night falling, that immediately calls to mind the rules we've already established in sundowning. How the night is sleep's domain, and it keeps going. I've done all right up till now. It's the light of day that shows me how. And when the night falls, my loneliness calls. Ooh, I want to dance with somebody. I want to feel the heat with somebody. Yeah, I want to dance with somebody. With somebody who loves me. We're getting to see some of Vessel's motivations for staying in this relationship. Just another force that's holding him down, that keeps him coming back. When the night falls, when Vessel is at his lowest, when things get dark, Vessel becomes lonely. And he wants someone to fill that gap, wants someone to be with. He wants to dance with somebody, wants to feel them next to him. He wants someone to lift him up and bring him joy. And that's the general theme of this song, right? This desire to fill that void, to heal that loneliness, to find someone to just dance with and be happy with. It's a desire most of us have had. It's a feeling most of us can relate to in some way or another. And the next verses kind of echo that same sentiment, so I'm not going to pick them apart as well, but I think pointing out the difference in tone is also worth a mention here. Because the original Whitney Houston version is once again a bright and happy, energetic dance song. It's full of joy and vibrance and energy, and Vessel's version is not quite as sad and morose as his version of Hey Ya, but it is a little more somber. It's a little more relaxed, and the feeling that I get from listening to this is that Vessel is sad, but hopeful. You know what I mean? Like, it still has some of the energy as before, some of the joy and the optimism, but it's behind this slightly melancholy tone as Vessel softly plays the piano through his rendition. So then, how do all of these connect? How do they fit together chronologically? After all, the album still seemingly ends with Bloodsport, but then we get these 3 extras for seemingly no reason. Well, I feel like these 3 songs are an extension of the epilogue. I think they're an elaboration on Vessel's feelings. In Bloodsport, Vessel is filled with a variety of emotions. A desire to try again, to leave and find someone new, a desire to stay and work this out, to hope that things will get better. There's a layer of bitter resentment for the way that he's been treated, but an overwhelming fear of expressing that resentment. Because at the end of the day, he still loves sleep. He's still in awe of her, and he still doesn't want to hurt her. And I think all of these ideas are represented individually in each of these extra songs. Shelter shows us Vessel's love for sleep, his willingness to provide her shelter, to keep her safe and show her love no matter what. It shows us Vessel's feelings for sleep and how much he truly cares for her. When the Party's Over shows us Vessel's bitter resentment, the anger and disgust that is brewing within him because of how sleep treats him, because of how little she seems to care. And I Want to Dance with Somebody shows us Vessel's desire, his wish to fill that void within himself, to find someone, anyone, to dance with him, to make him feel alive and loved again. Each of these songs is an extension of Bloodsport, a further elaboration of the feelings and themes that are swirling through Vessel's mind as he processes the place that he's found himself. And as the first album truly comes to an end, as our curtains truly, finally close, hopelessness is what consumes Vessel. Thank you so much to all of my guys, girls, and everything in between that stuck around to watch this video. It truly does mean the world to me, and I genuinely can't thank you enough for the absolutely insane support that I've received in the last few weeks. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want to see more. And a huge and special thank you to all of my lovely Patreon members, which you can see on the screen right now. And while normally I would only read out the names of the council, the fact that these guys have found the Patreon and gone out of their way to support before I had even announced it officially in a video, I'm gonna go ahead and read everybody out, including members of the flock, which includes Demonic CZ255, Michaelan Lindberg, and Worldly, plus Absolus, who subscribed as I was editing the end of this video, our one and only member of the Inner Circle, Alex, and the members of the Council, including Acidic Eternity, Robbie B212, The Forgotten King, and Ghost, whose art you can see here on screen. Once again, you can find links to the Tokenverse, Google form, and my Discord server for those of you who want to take part in this project, or if you just want to hang out in the Discord with the community. And of course, there's a link to my Patreon where you can donate to support me and this silly little channel of mine. Thank you so much again for watching, and Appa and I will see you next time.